No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Andrew, I just watched our debate back. Yes, the fuck you did.
Okay, tell me my positions in.
This is what you do, Andrew. You
Yes, it
ask
is.
questions and questions and questions so that you don't actually have to form an opinion and
great.
defend it.
That's great. So
Stop
what do you
using
ground,
descriptive arguments.
What do you ground
Make
morality?
an opinion.
What do you ground
do you
morality?
believe?
Can I at least make the
You've
point?
interrupted me like 5 times since we started.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Sure.
Well, so anyway, where you switched the goalpost here was you said that society's Korea. Anything you have that's a right comes from the state.
They still have a right to life. So.
No, there's no right to life. They take you out in the field and shoot you if you look at them cross-eyed.
Why don't you go live in North Korea?
Well, this is pure obfuscation.
You believe in coercive power.
This is pure obfuscation.
But my issue
I do think it's fair for you to answer his question.
Okay, so we're about to watch Andrew Wilson absolutely dismantle someone in real time. And I need you to pay very close attention to what's happening here, because this is a masterclass in exposing bad faith. Naima starts off trying to criticize Andrew's force doctrine, which, by the way, she doesn't even understand, and Andrew does something brilliant. He doesn't let her get away with anything. Every single dodge, every deflection, every attempt to flip the script, he catches it immediately. And what you're about to see is someone who thought they were ready for this debate realize very quickly that they are not. The moment where she tries to ground rights in morality, and Andrew just keeps asking, okay, what do you ground morality in? Watch how fast it falls apart. This is what happens when someone tries to debate positions they've never actually thought through. Let's get into it.
Played a clip of you.
What? Okay, but I'm going to play clips that'll show the lies about my positions.
I made one video about
and you lied
that
a lot in the
specific
video.
moment.
You lied a lot about my positions. You said things like, this man wants to get rid of women's rights, and you said all sorts of things.
You said that.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Andrew, I just watched our debate back. Yes, the fuck you did.
Okay, tell me my positions in. What is force doctrine?
Force doctrine is that whole theory that might makes right. Essentially, It is more... Okay, then why don't you define your theory?
No, you have to listen, first, you can't criticize a position unless you can stably tell me what you think the position means before you criticize it. So what is it? What's force doctrine?
Your position is descriptive. So do you want to define your terms before we argue on whether or not
I want to know what you
agree?
think force doctrine is, because you're critical of it. How can you be critical of a position you can't define?
I mean, I think force doctrine is generally the belief that those who are stronger physically are able to defend their rights.
No.
No?
No.
Okay, then explain it to me, Andrew.
Yeah, force doctrine is the critical belief that rights come to women specifically from men, that women always have to appeal to men for the rights collectively.
Okay, so do you believe that anybody has like inherent rights? Are there any inherent human rights regardless of
Unless
strength?
you can ground them in God, I don't believe that you can ground rights in anything. And if you can, go ahead and do so.
Okay, so then based on your religion, what are the inherent rights that humans have?
Well, first, I need you to understand what the criticism is. So when I say to you, I don't believe that you can ground rights absent religion, do you agree that that's true or false?
I believe that that's false.
Okay, then can you ground rights for me, absent religion?
Do you not know what rights are?
Can you ground them absent religion? Go ahead.
Grounding rights absent of religion. I mean, there's natural law, there's humanistic theories on law.
Well, I don't know which one you're going to go with, but go with one of them.
Okay, well, let's see. Which one would you prefer? We could do humanistic theory. We could do deontological ethics.
I literally don't give a shit. I just want you to ground rights outside of
debate.
I guess, what do you mean ground rights? Do you mean justify human rights?
I mean this. When I say ground rights, what are you appealing to? Let's just make it easy. What are you appealing to for rights?
Morality.
Okay.
That can either be morality through religion, or that can be morality through natural law. That can be morality through a social contract.
I'm not interested in all
that can be morality through creating an egalitarian society
not
that is
interested
functioning.
at all in possibilities. I'm interested in the one that you have.
These aren't possible. I mean,
can you tell me what
all of them.
I just want to know what you ground rights in.
I ground rights in morality. Rights are moral. It is just and moral to give people basic rights.
What do you ground morality in?
Are you going to keep asking me, or are you
Yes.
going to actually make an opinion? This is what you do, Andrew. You
Yes, it
ask
is.
questions and questions and questions so that you don't actually have to form an opinion
that's
and
great.
defend it.
That's great. So
Stop
what do you
using
ground-
descriptive arguments.
what do you ground
Make an
morality-
opinion.
what do you ground
Do you
morality
believe
in?
that humans have
What do you
inherent
ground
value?
morality in?
Do you believe that humans have inherent
We
value?
can't go anywhere with the debate unless you can tell me what you ground morals in.
So do you exclusively ground morals in your belief in God?
I've already said 5 times yes. Now I
Okay,
need to
so
know what
if
you
God,
ground.
But hold on. Listen to me. If God did not exist,
I'm not interested
would there
until
be
you tell
zero
me.
morals?
Not interested until you tell me what you ground morality in. Tell me what you ground morality in.
I don't even understand why you're asking this question.
Okay, so
Where are you going with it?
You said, I asked you, do you believe that rights can be grounded outside of God? You said yes. So I'm asking what they're grounded in outside of God.
Social order.
What does that mean?
It means creating a society that functions.
You
If no humans have rights, then you can't function as a society. Everyone would just be attacking each other all the time.
so you would have a society that functioned?
No, you would have an anarchic society if there is
And
no
that would
social
be,
order.
What would make that unfunctional? It would be something
I mean, no
that
one could
functioned in a way you didn't
collaborate with
like.
each other. Everyone would be constantly killing each other and maiming each other and raping
But
each
do
other.
you see how you're just making an appeal that morality just is preference-based, just fits your preference?
It's not preference-based.
Look at what just happened there. Andrew just exposed the entire framework she's operating on. She says rights are grounded in our ability to survive as a species. Okay, so survival. That's it. That's her moral foundation, survival. And Andrew immediately shows her why that doesn't work. If survival is the ground, then force is the answer. Because what stops someone from killing you isn't a right to life. It's force. It's either your force defending yourself or the state's force defending you. Rights don't exist in a vacuum floating around protecting people. Someone has to enforce them. That's literally the point of force doctrine. And she can't handle that. Watch how she pivots. She goes from rights are necessary for survival to societies can't function on force alone to we have other forms of power. Dude, she's just throwing stuff at the wall hoping something sticks. She doesn't have a coherent framework. She's doing what every left-winger does in these debates. They appeal to this vague sense of morality that they claim exists independently of God or force or anything material. And when you press them on it, they collapse. Because there's nothing there. It's preference. That's all it is. It's just preference dressed up as moral authority. And then Andrew brings up North Korea. Brilliant move. He asks her to name a society that functions purely on force, and she can't. So he gives her one. North Korea. A society where rights come from the state, which means they're not rights at all. They're permissions. And what does she do? She goes, they still have a right to life. No, they don't. Are you serious? If you can be taken out in a field and shot for looking at someone wrong, you do not have a right to life. You have the temporary privilege of not being killed yet. That's not a right. That's mercy from the regime. And Andrew calls that out immediately. But here's where it gets even better. She tries to flip it on him. Would you like to go live in North Korea? Like that's an argument. Like pointing out that a place sucks is somehow a rebuttal to the fact that it exists and functions as a society. Andrew's not saying North Korea is good. He's saying it exists. And if rights are necessary for societies to exist, then how does North Korea exist? She has no answer. So she just goes back to, it's not sustainable. It perpetuates suffering. Okay, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about whether rights are necessary for a society to exist. And clearly they're not, because North Korea exists. You can think it's terrible and still acknowledge that fact. But she can't, because if she admits that, her entire argument collapses. And the whole time, Andrew is just systematically breaking down every single deflection. She interrupts him constantly, and he even calls that out. But he stays focused. He doesn't let her change the subject. He doesn't let her hide behind vague appeals to morality or social order or whatever buzzword she throws out next. He forces her to define her terms, to actually defend her position, and she can't do it. She literally can't do it, because she doesn't have a position. She has a feeling, and feelings don't hold up in debates like this. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. Can you ground rights outside of God or force? Because Naima sure as hell couldn't.
It's a human necessity.
It's not necessary
Yes,
for you to have
rights are
rights.
necessary for survival. The
Demonstrate
right
it.
to life.
The right to life?
Yes, the right to life is necessary for survival.
You think that there's a right to life?
Yes, of course I believe there's a right to life.
Okay. And what do you ground that in?
I ground that in our ability to survive as a species. If nobody had a right to life, then what would stop Brian from just shooting up everyone in this room?
Force.
Our society could not function based solely on force.
Then how come societies...
We would all just be beating each other up all the
Then
time.
how come societies right now do?
Societies don't exist solely on force. We have tons of other forms of power that exist in society.
Do you agree with me that there are societies which function purely on force?
Yeah, and they suck. Name a singular one that exists that is like fun to live in.
Do you see how now you're changing the goalpost? So
I'm not
you
changing
said
the goalpost. I'm trying to create a society.
Remember how we weren't
that is
talking about interruptions?
progressive.
Can I at least make the
You've
point?
interrupted me like 5 times since we've